friends, welcome to my channel. Nothing more irks me than when a young person is wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted of a crime that they did not commit, or where there's not enough evidence, government didn't meet their burden, jury or judge convicts them anyway. I did a video not too long ago about how I would have viewed the trial of Mackenzie Shirilla if this would have been a jury trial. It was a bench trial, however. For the life of me, I still cannot figure out why a judge, regardless whether there was a false narrative or whatever, couldn't see through a false narrative and couldn't see the lack of evidence. Now, the Innocent Project denotes 7 items that lead to a wrongful conviction. There's misidentification of a suspect from an eyewitness, false confession, coerced in a plea deal, false forensic analysis or misuse evidence to create a false narrative, perjury or false accusation on the stand, governmental or official misconduct, as well as an inadequate defense. Now, the first two we can kind of disclude because of the fact that I didn't hear any false confession or confession from Mackenzie, and then we know Mackenzie was behind the wheel, so that's a given. When they were in one of the pretrial hearings, what we did hear is, and leave a comment if you remember this, but the government, the prosecutor, offered a plea deal for Mackenzie to plead guilty for 2 counts of aggravated murder. It seems to me that judges typically take the side of the prosecutor. The prosecutor, they just take the prosecutor's word for it. They just take the prosecutor's witnesses for it. And for the defense, they've got to make sure that there is evidence. So where is the innocent until proven guilty? Apparently now it's guilty until proven innocent. So I want to go through all 3 elements of aggravated murder that I believe, and I am not a lawyer, so please feel free to put in the comment section below if I've got this wrong, but that there has to be motive or intent to do a crime, pre-planning, pre-orchestrated, that she pre-planned it, and that she executed it. I don't know what the judge was thinking, but if this would have been a jury trial, the judge would have given a jury a very simple instruction regarding proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is based on reason, common sense, and not speculation. I am kind of wondering why she did not receive a jury trial. Come to think of it, I think that that's probably a good thing, because really, frankly, I'm not so convinced in the average American to be able to use reason or common sense to figure out the facts. You know, that whole saying that a judicial fact must be proven based on the testimony of 2 to 3 witnesses. And it's very hard to me that a judge would not be able to distinguish the idea of opinion from fact. What is an opinion? Opinion can vary from person to person. If I ask you what color the rainbow is the prettiest, I'm going to get a lot of different answers in the comment section. A fact is when you can get someone's opinion and base that on evidence. So what I'm trying to explain here is that in a trial, you can have people that have the same opinion of a defendant, but just because you have all the same opinions, where's the evidence to back that up? What we're going to do right now is I want to try to figure, and I know it's tough to kind of get into the mind of a judge to figure out what they were thinking, but let's try and see how Mackenzie was convicted and if the judge indeed violated the law by reaching a verdict that she shouldn't have reached, because there was just not enough evidence. The first thing that in all the documentaries is that Mackenzie was crazy, she was manipulative, she was egotistic, she was narcissistic. threats. They've got threats as evidence. Now, the problem that I have, how do I know that those threats are from Mackenzie to Dome or Dome to Mackenzie? Is the judge supposed to just speculate that because Dome was the one that was killed and he lost his life, that automatically says that Mackenzie sent those to Dome? A lot of people gave the impression that she was a crazy and dangerous and wild driver. Okay, what proof do you have to denote that besides the evidence of her running into the brick wall? What evidence do you have prior to that day to issue that she was a crazy or manipulative driver based on all the evidence and understanding from the testimony? Do you have past parking tickets, excessive speeding tickets, violations, other crashes, a violent and really dangerous and or driving history? No, not really. We don't have all that. So you want the judge again to speculate because 4 or 5 people on the stand testified that she was a crazy driver. That automatically says that she's a crazy driver. There was an instance days before where she became violent with Dome in the car. The problem that I have, if Dome didn't want to be with Mackenzie, Dome wanted to break up with her, Dome wanted to just leave her, go off on his own, Mackenzie was completely threatening and harassing Dome. Why didn't the mom and the brother and Dome go to the court and file a restraining order or personal protection order against Mackenzie? After that violent attitude in the car, why, and all these threats supposedly, why didn't Mackenzie get charged with domestic violence? Why didn't Dome and his mother go down to the police station and file a domestic violence charge against Mackenzie? Well, we don't know, but I mean, just take our testimony word for it. That's one of the things that I just can't understand with the trial. For example, when there was a plea deal, prosecutor told the judge that we have complied with everything from discovery and gave it over to the defense. And then the judge wrote in the record saying that the court will find that you have complied with all the information from your investigation and handed it over to defense. Exactly how does the judge know that? Oh, just take our word for it. We're not lying. There was a social media post that was uploaded. She was contacting a lot of modeling agencies and a lot of these, to plan her future after the accident. So exactly how do I know that this is post-accident compared to pre-accident? I'm not saying that a miracle was done and she was back to her regular life in a month and a half. But how do I know that social media post was post-accident compared to pre-accident? It was supposedly done on Halloween. So how do I know that wasn't 2, 3, 4 years ago on Halloween, before this even happened? Just because she has, in the video, she has a mention about surviving an accident and everything, that's supposed to convince me that she was completely well 3 months after a serious head-on collision? So far in the first element, the prosecutor is really getting the judge, in my opinion, to speculate a lot of ridiculous claims. They don't have a restraining order or domestic violence, and yet she's violent. In fact, in one of the documentaries, 6 months prior to this accident, it was stated by her father, and her mother kind of, tried, oh no, she was just visiting, but her father said that she was living with the Russos. Now, I'm still having trouble figuring that one out because of the fact that if I had a daughter or a son And I had a girlfriend or a boyfriend really harassing them, really being obnoxious, really being narcissistic, doing all this violent stuff, issuing threats, hitting them all the time. For sure, I would not allow them to live under my roof. If she was that violent, that destructive, that narcissistic, that crazy, that dangerous, that threatening, why would the mother allow her to live in that house with Dome? Kind of sounds strange, doesn't it? Let's go on to number two, the pre-planning, pre-stage. Now, it was testified in one of the documentaries that the brother used that as a shortcut. Prosecution said was that she was there days before. That institutes that she pre-planned this murder. I go to work 4 times a week. I take the same route every single day to and from work. 8 times a week, I'm going past the same intersections, same places. And so if I run into a building on like a Friday or something, or even a Thursday night when I'm coming home from work, I guess that concludes that I pre-planned this because of the fact I was there just a couple hours before, even though I was headed to work. So what evidence does the prosecution have that says that this was not a route home, that she was not heading home? So I guess that's another thing that the judge is supposed to just speculate. And three, when sentencing came, the judge issued a decree or a statement saying that, Mackenzie, a medical condition did not cause you to do this. Mechanical failure did not cause you to do this. It was your actions and what you chose to do. How can the judge clearly make a statement like that? Did any evidence come in to debunk any type of medical condition? I've got diacetylioma. I got neurocardiogenic syncope. And I had it I was having spells probably for about 14 years before they had an exact diagnosis. So what I want to kind of figure out is that 70 million people worldwide have some form of diacetylioma, POTS, neurocardiogenic syncope. Out of all those people, there's 8.1 billion people in this world. That leaves like 0.7%. To debunk the claims remarked by the prosecutor that this is irrelevant because she didn't tell the DMV this, I'm going to kind of debunk that and throw it back in their face and say that I know the judge doesn't have diacetylioma, doesn't have low blood sugar, doesn't have diabetes, doesn't have high blood pressure, doesn't have any serious medical condition to where they're taking medicine. I know that the same thing is true with the prosecutor, the prosecution team, and any of the witnesses that testified on her behalf. I know that for a fact. Why? Because they have a license. They've all, how are they getting to work? They're not, they could be taking an Uber, but I think it's a safe bet that if they had something wrong with them, they would go down to the DMV and say that, you know what, I've got this problem, I'm no longer safe to drive, and surrender your license. I know you do that for a fact because you would say that Mackenzie needed to do it. How do we know that there was not a mechanical failure? Did they bring in a team? The only testimony that was testified to by the detective was that we found Mackenzie depressed on her foot on the pedal when they found her. Well, why was her foot depressed? That could have been a lot of things. Diacetylioma POTS, they cause you to pass out. They have very interesting things of where you could faint and lose consciousness. What about some neurological problems? Seizures. If she was driving down that road and there was a seizure, they time is of the essence. What about a mechanical failure or a foot getting stuck under the thing and trying to, getting jammed or something? We don't know. We can't see inside that car. But the prosecution wants us to speculate and wants the judge to speculate that this was an intentional act. So I ask again, how did the judge, an intelligent judge, someone that should be able to read facts, read lies, reject a false narrative, how could she make those claims and consider her guilty with all the stuff that she speculated? The jury instruction for beyond a reasonable doubt says it can't be based on speculation. So why? I know exactly why Mackenzie was convicted by a judge. I know exactly what the prosecution did for their case. You see, what the prosecution did is they wanted to denote that there was a toxic relationship between Mackenzie and Dome. Even one of the testimonies said that Dome never wanted to be around her. So that was their whole testimony. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to try to get beyond reasonable doubt for the first element, and then say that, well, because she got it for the first element, that automatically means that we proved it for the second element. Because we proved the first element, that automatically proves that we did the second and the third element, so it's a conviction. There's a word that I have for that: speculation. Let's take a thought example. All right, I'm going to threaten all people that use marijuana, drugs, smoke, vape. I think it's just a waste of time, and everybody should die or be hurt or be very seriously injured that does that. Now, there's a lot of vamp stores. I'm not sure about marijuana shops, but there's a lot of vamp stores, gas stations on my way to work. So if I have to go out there on a Saturday to do some shopping for Mother's Day or Father's Day or Christmas or something, that area is very busy around the holidays, and go through all these things, and I get into an accident, crash into a vamp store, crash into a gas station, killing 2-3 people. Well, judging by the prosecution, how they prosecuted Mackenzie, I planned that murder because of the fact, first, they're going to show this thing that I threatened all marijuana and vamp users. Then they're going to say that he was at that route, on that road, days before. And of course I was, because I was going to work. And then because it was an intentional accident with the store. And I told you earlier that I have a diagnosis of disophilioma. So how in the world is that not a factor? I watched a lot of the trial of the Darrell Brooks trial, and it was a wild showcase. It was just ridiculous. But they showed multiple angles of the car. They showed the car whirling and swerving. They showed Darrell Brooks actually behind the wheel, really alert. I know that he's not having an episode. I know that he's not in a mental state. I know that he is focused on the road ahead. Where is that evidence regarding Mackenzie? And then, just for an afterthought, all we see is a car driving and going onto a road. And then we see it fly past the camera right before the crash. Now, am I supposed to speculate that that was the only camera out of that entire stretch of road that was on that road? So if Mackenzie would have swerved a little bit too soon, there would have been no evidence of a crash, so they would have had no case. One thing that I do know about our judicial system is the fact that when we say beyond a reasonable doubt, each case, each element needs to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't prove item 1 and then use that to prove item 2. Item 2 to prove item 3. You got to do it independently, or you've got to do an acquittal. Now, let's say, for the sake of example, that they made their case, even though it was a false narrative, they made a case for that there was a toxic relationship there. That still doesn't, I can't see the planning aspect of that. Because it was a route that she was going home. It was a route that she normally took. It was a route that many people took. There's too many qualified. It's pitch black. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. When do I have most of my episodes? In the morning. That's when I have it, because I feel dehydrated. I got to get some water and some hydration into my system to be able to get going and be able to last at work. So this is my little analysis and stuff of why I believe the judge convicted Mackenzie. And if the appellate court really cared about justice, they would overturn Mackenzie's conviction. If you like my content, if you want to support the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and click that bell for notification. And you know what's so nice about that? Is because of the fact that I'm not asking you for any money. I'm not trying to dip into your pocketbook. I just want to try to grow this channel to a number of subscribers so that this can be a success for me and allow me to reach more people. Make sure you share my videos. I got a whole playlist of things causing mental health and judicial outlooks, but it only takes 20 seconds to help me out. And what is 20 seconds if it helps people out? And that's exactly why I made this video, is to try and help someone else out. I will see you next time.